Welcome back to the Life Well Led podcast. Today we are going to dive in to all things emotional intelligence.
Excellent.
We're going to talk about what it is, right? Because you're hearing it a lot all over the internet. And I'm sure if you're tied into leadership or you're in some sort of corporate role, you've probably heard of emotional intelligence or EQ. We're going to talk about why you need to care about what it is, why you should really invest in the idea of emotional intelligence, and then give you some practical skills on how to actually upskill on emotional intelligence. So, Eric, let's start off with the definition of emotional intelligence. What is it?
To me, emotional intelligence is being able to understand your own emotions and the emotions of the people around you. How that works is being able to understand, to read the room, read yourself, and rather than be reactive, be proactive. So, example of that, if you're walking into a room really angry and upset by something else, and that room is full of clients that you could potentially get that are all happy and engaged and eager to learn more, but you're angry and upset, and you know that you respond angry and upset by being direct, defensive, not responding by the same energy that they have, you're not going to respond as well as you could have had you had some emotional intelligence training or worked on it on yourself to be able to make that shift, so that way you're mitigating those things that you're angry and upset about to then become somebody that you need to be in that room, which is happy, eager, engaged, and ready to sell whatever product or service you have and connect with the audience.
Eric, you put out an article recently, which was something about the fact that even if you're the smartest person in the room, it doesn't mean that you should be the leader of the situation. And I think that EQ is the biggest part of that, is just because you are intellectually brilliant in what you're doing, it doesn't mean that you have the emotional skills in order to lead the team. And sometimes that's really difficult for people to grasp, because we cling to the smartest people in the room culturally. We've been taught since grade school that grades, that being the smartest person in the room is the most important thing. And now all of a sudden you get thrown into a corporate culture or work culture and you realize that, oh yeah, there are other skills I need besides just book smarts in order to get by in life.
I think it was Robert Kiyosaki's wife, Kim, who had said that the schools are actually failing you by going through the grade model of high IQ, because they don't teach you to collaborate. They teach you to look at your own work, don't work with others to try to find and solve the problem. Instead, you have to figure it out on your own. You have to get the best score in the best possible way and build your IQ so that you know everything. That's just not true, folks. It's not true at all. If you're going to work in a corporate setting, in a nonprofit setting, or any other setting, you have to be able to work with people. So emotional intelligence is absolutely needed skill, and you should be able to learn that earlier. Darn it.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's kind of segue into why exactly you should care about emotional intelligence.
Well, I'm going to be fiery about this one too, so hang on, folks. Listen, the more technology and AI, all of that is automating things like knowledge and IQ so that you have instant access to what you need.
Yeah.
The more that happens, the more you're going to need to be a human being. So having emotional intelligence is going to be a greater and greater commodity, to be able to lead teams of people who have access to that information, to have the ability to access it on demand, and understanding how you get the best out of people who maybe they think they're the smartest in the room, maybe they're not as confident, all different kinds of emotional intelligence issues. But it is so darn important to realize that in this age that is fast changing and fast to be adaptive, you have to have emotional intelligence in order to lead your people to the promised land, which may look like, solving a problem or creating something new out of thin air and being innovative. That is why emotional intelligence is so important.
I think back to every single movie, TV show, anything that has this idea, this futuristic idea of robots. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have played with ChatGPT, and you put in a prompt and it spits out an answer, right? And you're just like, something about it, it's right, but it's also just a little off. Like, it just feels like, okay, I want you to change this and make it a little less spunky, or I want you to make this a little bit more realistic or human, or, whatever. Like, you're trying to adapt its personality in language if you're having it write prompts or something like that. So, but people do that, right? There's no, even in those movies, there's no replacement for human to human connection.
None. And, to get really technical, robots are not yet passing the Turing test. In other words, it is not being able to fool a human being that it is not, in fact, a robot, it's another human being. That has not happened yet. That may not happen for decades. Maybe it'll happen in 5 years, but I'm just saying it may not happen for decades because they're just not there yet. To your point, Karen, is that you may be able to have that information spit out to you, but it doesn't really matter. Think about a smoker, for example. How many times have they been told smoking will kill you? Hundreds and hundreds of times. The information is out there and widely available on the World Wide Web. There's been study after study after study for decades on end, and people still don't quit because that is not an issue that is solved by knowledge alone. You need to have emotional intelligence to be able to try to work through that person, to get to their heart and their gut and say, what is it that's keeping you staying as a smoker? Just an example, but that is kind of the point that we're looking at here.
There are so many industries that are at risk in the next 2 to 3 decades about becoming extinct because AI is approaching so quickly and is going to drastically change the landscape. And you've heard out there, you need to start adapting to AI or you're going to be out of the marketplace sooner than later. And there are all these fears of AI is going to replace a lot of our jobs, and our jobs as we know it are going to have to shift. You think about Chick-fil-A, right? They serve chicken in all different facets, but they serve chicken. And they set themselves apart because of the customer service, because they make people feel special, because they've understood the emotional intelligence of their customers, anticipate what they want and make them feel special. And so therefore they've been able to take a corner of the market and create a crazy amount of brand loyalty to Chick-fil-A. I mean, it is crazy. Like, Chick-fil-A and Taylor Swift are the two, like, brand loyalty. I mean, it's just, but they do that through emotional intelligence. They understand their people. They connect on a human level and,
they do.
And on a heart level.
Now, that's exactly right. I mean, Taylor Swift's another great example of just being so engaged with her fans. And that's the same with Chick-fil-A. They're engaged with their audience to a point that they understand the simplest of task is saying something like, how are you today? It's my pleasure. Having the authority, having the autonomy to do that in even a setting like fast food is how they dominate the market. And that's how people can dominate the market, even though you may have to learn the technology and there is going to be a painful learning curve for that, for sure. You're never going to really get rid of emotional intelligence and being able to serve the customer in a customer service setting, in a support setting, in any kind of setting that involves a human being. Because at the end of the day, darn it, yeah, you may know that you're not supposed to do this, or you need this technical fix and you can read it online, but something about a human being being able to empathize with you and understand what you need to do to get something done, that, yeah, it sounds fluffy and whatnot, but that is when tactically applied, that is leadership. That is leadership, to be able to get something done that hasn't been done before.
So now we're in this position where the idea of emotional intelligence is becoming more and more important. We're seeing it out there. It feels trendy. But it is really, truly important. It's trending for a reason. What is the next step? How do you, as an individual, start to build the skills of emotional intelligence you need to move forward successfully over the next 10, 15, 20 years?
I hate to say get a coach. That sounds very self-serving, but
I feel like we say that every episode.
Not every episode, but pretty close. That's just one example. Getting a coach that can help you with emotional intelligence, that's really a bread and butter of what a great coach can do. But that might be a mentor too. It might be somebody in your organization that you really think highly of, him or her, whoever, that is able to really inspire the collective purpose of people and be able to address the things that need to be addressed on time and still get the best out of them. That's a great example, finding a mentor. If you want to work at it on your own and, there's online courses that you can do that are part of emotional intelligence. If you're going through leadership programs, whether you get an MBA or a certificate or something, I'm sure that there is, but I would be really keen on understanding what in those courses has an emotional intelligence component to it, because that's going to really set you apart from everybody else. You can understand cash flow, you can understand this and that about a business, sales, marketing, accounting, tech side. If you don't understand the emotional intelligence piece, then you're not only are you not going to get ahead, you're going to be behind. So I would say find courses. There are free courses. There are courses that you can take that cost money. There's coaching, there's mentoring. Those are really the best examples that I personally can think of, is that you consciously invest in time to invest in your emotional intelligence skills.
I want to just build this though from the center.
Sure.
You are the center of this. Knowing yourself, I say that, I feel like I say this every episode, but really knowing yourself, being in tune with your own emotions and being aware of how you respond and react to things is the most important thing. And then it goes out there. You start with the people closest around you, and then you build that out, and you start to build the culture around you. And then that grows into an organization around you. And as much as you feel like maybe you're, a low level employee, an entry level employee, and you feel like you don't have an impact, you do have an impact, right? What you do and how you make other people feel matters. And that spreads. And
Yes.
it spreads like crazy. I mean, you hear of the whole, pay it forward thing at Starbucks, same sort of thing. You make other people feel special no matter what your job is. The people that you impact, you make them feel special. You spread that, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And that you learn from interactions and going through tough situations on how to treat people and how you want to be treated. And you just keep practicing over and over and over. And you can learn it through mentoring, coaching, however you want to get it, courses, what have you. It takes practice.
Yes.
It takes awareness. It takes building the skill every single day in order to really master it. But when you master it, and when you become completely aware of what's going on around you and tuning into how other people are feeling, it's going to make a huge difference. It's going to change the trajectory of your life, your career, the people you interact with. It's going to have this ripple effect that we only know how it's going to play out.
No question about it. It is a practice, though. That's the last thing I'll say, is that it is something that you master, but it's a continued rent is due every single day. It's not something that you bought and you take it to the bank. It is something that you have to continually work on. It is a perishable skill. And so that is why building on those skills means you practice them every single day. And that is what emotional intelligence is, why you should care, and ultimately how you end up building that emotional intelligence around you, so that way others can be inspired to do the same.